Since the release of Level 6 Rebels, players who look to min-max their stats have found it necessary to keep on top of their attack command income and continuously hit level 6s in order to min-max their account as much as possible, since you'll of course need Battle Diamonds and Fantastic Dust to effectively awaken your gear now, and you can get huge amounts of stats compared to if you don't have your gear progressing at the very least long term with this system. And dealing good damage to these rebels is something I think a lot of players are still struggling with, including myself. And something I've noticed since moving over to a new alliance is some of these more niche interactions that I've spoken about, or potentially other people have spoken about, haven't been that widespread in their knowledge. And one of these that I've found is Hector, and how he can be very effective against level 6 rebels specifically. So, on the face of it, this might sound very confusing and make no sense at all, because Hector historically has had no use against rebel leaders in any way. He has no exponential damage curve to him. He's a tank primarily, so he'd realistically, or conventionally at least, fill that Enzo role, which of course he's never going to unseat Enzo. If you can manage to keep Enzo alive. And when you look through his abilities, nothing here hugely stands out to you. So his first ability here is active. It does a decent chunk of damage, and then double damage effectively against bowman targets. And then he gains defense for every ally that dies. So that's basically pointless against rebel leaders because you don't want anyone else dying. So that's irrelevant. Adds defense to himself. Again, you're not going to want him tanking really over something like Enzo if you can manage it at least. He can act as a decent tank if you don't have a functional Enzo, to be fair. But the thing that makes him potentially very good in certain rebel leader compositions, and can often lead to very high variance because of this 30% chance, but very high ceilings to his damage output. So a lot of the best damage output level 6 reports you will see will be Hector reports, purely through this ability here, Strength of 1000. So Hector's attack has a 30% chance to reduce the target's attack by 6,282, at least at this stage of his progression I have him at here. Effect lasts for 5 seconds. So this is why he's so good, and I'm going to show this in a report, because just explaining it doesn't quite do it justice. But the key to this is, when you watch videos back, this effect lasts for 5 seconds doesn't actually happen when you actually look back through videos, and when it gets applied, it effectively stays applied throughout the entire fight, so you can infinitely stack this attack reduction, and basically make the opposing rebel leader have 0 attack, and through that make your entire lineup invincible. This sounds a bit mental as I'm explaining it, and the reason it hasn't been hugely popularized or fixed potentially, because it isn't as game breaking as it sounds, because of course the nature of Enzo, and again I can probably explain this better in a video, you actually do want Enzo dropping in his health to increase his damage through his passive, and Hector can get in the way of this. But with level 6s and how hard it is to stay alive versus them, there can be situations where the risk of that outweighs the positives. So you see here, Enzo's dropping, and he's at like 60% health here, and this sword with the 2 downwards red arrows is the attack reduction from Hector. Now there are 2 applied, so it's stacked twice, and now 3 times, and now there's 3, you'll see Enzo's health down here does not move at all, and it stays at 100% for the entire fight, and these debuffs continue to stack until the fight ends. So when you get 2 or 3 of these debuffs via Hector, your tank is going to take no damage whatsoever. And if you can find the right compositions to manipulate that and still get as much damage out there as as you possibly can without totally butchering your Enzo snowball, Hector can actually provide some of the best level 6 formations that are out there in the entire game.